make sure I'm very clear with this. First of all, I believe in the power of the personal story, the anecdotal story. That's your first-hand experience, or somebody that you know who's experienced it firsthand. That is always the first place that you should lead in to any conversation that you have, because that provides believability. When you can let somebody know that you experienced this yourself, and as I look out here into this relatively small, intimate audience, many of you have powerful personal stories. I heard about a half a dozen of them alone this morning, and I know many of you because I've talked to you along the way. But you have an amazing anecdotal first-hand story. Now, I don't want to pop any bubbles here, but if I were to go next door to one of the other network marketing companies, you know what? They would have equal anecdotal first-hand stories. I don't mean to offend anybody here. I'm giving you truth serum right now. That if I were to go on either end of these walls to the next network marketing company, they would have people that could stand up here and bring you to tears. Am I right? They would bring you to tears. I've experienced it. I've been around for a long time, been in this profession for over 30 years. They are powerful first-hand anecdotal stories. But I'll tell you what, they're a great starting point. They're emotional, as you know. They often can, in the wrong hands, create fads and myths, and we know that marketing and advertising can do this to anything, right? We can build a story in any way that we want to see it if we can create emotion, if we can touch people at the deepest level of who they are. And if we can resonate and connect with them in their story, as we tell ours, oh my gosh, you can create an absolute momentum. Talk about a turning point. So they can bubble up very quickly. They can spread, and they can vanish even quicker. Now, in the case of the United States government pushing the food grant pyramid, they can last a long time. And fortunately, we won't let that happen anymore. So there's usually no scientific data to support these claims, but you can ride that wave. And this is why I love when I hear Patty and Herb and others talk about this fleeting aspect of other companies that have come and gone, even during the lifetime of Isagenix, right? Isagenix has been around for 17 years. The number of companies that have popped in, riding a wave, and then fizzled and completely disappeared, dime a dozen. I mean, there's thousands of them. You don't even know about them. They're cropping up all the time. And they're falling away. So what's the difference? What's the difference? If I'm saying that Isagenix has this compelling, an incredible emotional connection to people because of that first-hand experience, and they have what you would classify as only anecdotal first-hand experience compared to these other companies, but these other companies are passing in and disappearing and cropping up again and disappearing, why has Isagenix held the test of time? Well, I'm here to support your business from both a business standpoint and also from a scientific standpoint, because that's the foundation, that's the basis. So the difference is when you can incorporate high-quality scientific evidence, facts, that don't care what you believe, right? Because emotions, you can care what the person is saying. You have an emotional connection or you don't. You can care if it's their opinion or not. So you can pass a judgment. You can pass a criticism. With this, you can't. With science, you can't, because it doesn't care what you believe. We know that it's known to be fact because it's been scientifically tested through rigor and through other experts and analyzing it and scrutinizing it at the highest level of its integrity. So it creates theories that can stand the test of time. Are you guys loving this? Yeah. I'm getting so fired up! It's much harder to generate. It's much harder to explain. I think this is for some of you that are in the room that aren't scientific or medical. I think that's a stumbling block for you, and I'm going to help completely dissolve that by the end of today. But I want you guys to know, I understand it's hard to explain sometimes. It's definitely hard to generate. I generated it, so I know it's hard. It's hard to spread, but once it catches on, it stays for an eternity. And it holds the test of time, and it's possible to spread it everywhere. Not just based on a like-minded person who had a similar experience as you. Isn't that unbelievable?
Yeah.
This is where you guys are right now.
Woo.
This is where you are with Isagenix. So Isagenix is the real deal. So I've been told by Susan and Murray, who aren't here, so I can throw them under the bus, that I say too much science. Is that true?
No.
You guys don't like? No? Okay. I didn't mean that. Don't tell them. Although you have it on record now. So, and Joe's right here in the front row. But listen, this is what I did. I took the Isagenix shake days using my protein pacing that I had scientifically developed and validated. And this should look familiar. So I'm not going to go into any detail. This has been presented numerous times in previous presentations that I've given on the main stage. So I'm just going to let that be. And this is the cleanse day, the intermittent fasting. And again, it follows along with what many of you are already doing. But these two slides are what I actually used in my scientific research study with Isagenix. And by the way, there was 40 of these men and women that were in need of help. So these are people that you encounter every single day in your own business outreach and in your own healthy lifestyle evangelism that you're spreading. So this is what they followed. And this is what happened. And again, these are slides that you can just take pictures of, but they speak for themselves. You know, body weight on average between these men and women. And one of my primary questions was, do men and women that are interested in losing weight lose weight similarly? Because there was some scientific evidence and some anecdotal belief that men had an easier time losing weight than women. And so I wanted to test that, if they did it right. Now, in some diets, and some fads, and some nutritional eating strategies or interventions, or diets, if you want to call them, there might be evidence to show that men might lose more weight than women. But if you compare them side by side using a scientifically proven dietary or nutritional intervention, there's no difference. Women have just as much of an opportunity. So you can see the results over there on the body weight loss. 10%, which was massive, by the way. Fat mass, 20%. This was in an 11-week study. So in 11 weeks, this is what the results were. Average of 25 pounds of weight, average of over 20 pounds of fat. Waist circumference dropped over 5 inches in all of them. And again, these are averages, by the way. That's another very important point. I think some people look at this and say, well, gosh, I experienced better than that. And I know Sally who blew that out of the water. And I knew Dave who crushed that. These things aren't impressive. These are averages of all 40 of these men and women. This is unbelievable. This is still, to this day, in terms of scientific evidence, one of the most groundbreaking scientific research investigations that we've seen in this short amount of time. So, phenomenal data. And of course, I'm interested in the science end and how it impacts our health to see if it really works, because we can lose weight really effectively. Let's say I just that first slide, and I ended there, and I just say, hey, look it. You go on Isagenix, you can lose a lot of weight. Well, I would want you to be a little bit more of a critical thinker and say, well, I can lose weight if I go on Dunkin' Donuts and jelly beans if I wanted to, right? I mean, you could. And if I said, hey, you know what, I'm going to put you guys all on a Dunkin' Donuts diet, and I'll throw in McDonald's for you. I'll put you on McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts, and I'll guarantee you lose weight. In fact, I know I would. If you followed what I give you with Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's, you would all lose weight. Undeniable. How you would lose that weight and the quality of that weight loss would be very different. So, and this is what I'm interested in. I'm interested in the quality of the weight loss, not the quantity of the weight loss. That's important, but it's much, much more important to focus on the quality of what someone's losing. And these data blow it away. These data is what make this something that is unique and allow it to stand on its own. These are the personal stories. I know sometimes you can't get the full picture of these, but these were massive. And some of the ones that I didn't include were ones that were even more impressive. For those of you that were at NYKO, I actually presented the actual physical metrics that happened in each of these individuals. But on average, they were close to 30 pounds of weight loss or more. Their abdominal fat was, in some cases, Jim and Joe and Barb, they lost massive amounts. I mean, pounds of weight, body fat in their belly. 7, 8 pounds of belly fat they lost over that course of that 11 weeks. That's massive. So the stories are huge. Collectively, it was 1,000 pounds. So you guys have seen this before, but my point that I want to drive home here is that this is the scientific evidence that you can rely on that allows you to separate from what's on either side of these walls and what others are talking about in terms of that anecdotal firsthand. Use that. You have that. This is what you have at your disposal. All right, so the other thing is, of course, we need to eat these things. And so what I always tell people, now I'm a user of Isagenix, and I know all of you are, but have them put it in their body. That's the starting point in many cases. I know the business building and the strategies that you just heard on the panel are, again, a 10. But ultimately, it's going to just be a matter of you giving it to somebody, asking them to try it, and to see what happens when they do that. So these are what I recommend just because this captures what I was using in the study. So people often ask, what do you recommend if you were going to start somebody on this lifestyle? This would be one that I would say, and this would be another. This is kind of, actually for the most part, identical to what was used in the weight loss study that I conducted. It has just about all of the products that were used, I think, so this would be a starting point that I would say that I would have. So moving on from this, we have some people that are fitness-minded. You heard some of the panelists that were up here that connect and resonate to people.